Higgins.
Great member.
Madam Speaker, my question is to the Minister for Education. Minister, I refer you to this email from Jenny, a local nurse in my electorate of Higgins, who under the previous government's proposed $2,000 cap on tax deductions for self-education expenses would struggle to afford and maintain and improve her accreditation as a medical professional. Minister, how has the government addressed Jenny's concerns?
I call the Leader of the House and Minister for Education.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I do thank the member for Higgins for her question on the self-education expenses cap, which the previous government decided earlier this year they would introduce on deductible expenses for education, for legitimate education. This was a classic act of self-harm on the education sector. The previous government decided that to fund increases in spending on schools, they would take that from the university sector. They made a number of serious cuts to the university sector in a climate when they had already reduced the amount of revenue flowing to universities from our international education market, substantially reduced revenue to universities over 5 years. They then decided this year that they would cut higher education further, and one of those cuts was to introduce a cap on self-education expenses of $2,000. It was a classic case of Labor taking a sledgehammer to smash a walnut. They claimed at the time that there were myriad examples of the education deduction being rorted by high-income earners. They've yet to produce any evidence that that has been the case, Madam Speaker. In fact, 80% of the people who have claimed the self-education expenses deduction over many years had incomes of less than $80,000 per annum. They were low and middle income earners. As Greg Craven, the Vice-Chancellor of the Australian Catholic University, described this move, he described it as the streakers cap. He said it sounded like a good idea at the time. But on sober reflection, of course, this government came to power and realised that the damage it would do to productivity and the higher education sector was not worth the savings that the previous government had claimed. So the Treasurer and the Prime Minister, in their wisdom, decided that we would not proceed with the self-education expenses cap. It means that policemen, nurses, public servants, many low and middle income earners in Australia will be able to improve their skills. It is a productivity measure for us to not proceed with this cap. It will help the economy. And what it confirms is that the coalition is the real friend of low and middle income earners in this place, which is why we represent so many of them on this side of the House. And what it confirms is that Labor talks tough and big about their representation of the workers. But what they really represent is not the workers, but the workers' bosses, the union leaders who pay their dues to join a union and then don't get the representation that is claimed that they would get.